So I had kind of a wild hair, and I decided to revisit this dashboard project. So when I first started setting it up and I first cut it up, I went with the low-level dash, the one that had kind of the shelf on it, the one that looks like this. So I cut it open, put a couple little strips in for strength. And my idea originally was to get like MG midget gauges and just make my own panels and basically use spray foam on the outside and have somebody cover it in vinyl. Well, since then, I have gotten a couple of the factory round gauge pods. They're not in very good shape, but they were cheap. They're like $100 for two of them. One of them's melted. The other ones are kind of broke. This is the one I want to use. It's really rusty. You can't really see in the pictures, but the gauge faces are pretty rusty. No, this is not the one I wanted to use. Never mind. This is the good one, but it's a AC gauge cluster. I'll show you afterward. But the idea here is to mount them in there. I also got this surround panel, which is different on the round gauge cars. And I believe that this vent panel is different as well, but I think I can kind of get it set up this way anyway. So that'll end up going like that. I'll have to weld in a strip of metal here and then on either side to kind of support this. If I have to, I'll make something go in between the two. It shouldn't be too hard. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm gonna need to cut a strip of metal and weld it in here to bring this down so it can support the cluster. I also need to build something here in the corner. Once I get, because I mean, this doesn't not have to look good at all. As you can see, I just got little scraps of metal kind of welded, tack welded in place. It's all gonna get covered in foam. What I'm actually gonna do is put this frame into my mold, which is for the deluxe dashboard. I'll tape off all the openings for the gauges and just spray the foam, and then I can touch up the foam afterwards, shave it all down and get it the shape I want it. If I have to fiberglass it, I can fiberglass it or have it recovered. So I had to cut out the one strip I had because it was too far out. Put this little piece in, which is actually a piece left over from here. And then I had to notch it a little bit more because it was a little too big. But that sits right where I want it. So it's got to take care of the top and this corner over here. And I think this will be done. Then I can focus on this a little more. And I don't think I need to do much over here. This was all wasted space. These cars didn't have a glove box, but they did in South America. So as you saw here on the English one, it's just kind of a curved, solid foam, vinyl covered blank. But here, these ones in South America have a glove box. And they also have the 4 gauge pod. Some of them actually only had a 2 gauge pod. But I'm gonna get on that. I went ahead, actually, this dashboard support that I had, I went ahead and bolted this to it so it would be in a installed position and I knew exactly where to put the holes. So I'm gonna get back to work on this. All right. So I think I got everything kind of basically set. I'm debating whether or not I should just go ahead and drill the screw holes, but I'm not sure where it's supposed to sit exactly, so I think I'll wait. I had to add in a little bit of metal here and here just for support for this, and so someplace the screws could go, you know. And this is a blank I bought years ago, 3-4 years ago, 2 years ago. Just a generic one, but it actually fits this pretty well. I'll probably go ahead and put an AM radio in it, a factory radio, or at least a factory dealer installed radio. It won't be hooked up, but it'll be there for looks. So on this, I did what I said. We got it. It's a little tight there, so hopefully the right panel won't be any different. It's just up there. Doesn't have to be strong. It's just gotta be there to hold the cluster in place. This might be a little low, but it's still there to support it. I had to go back and add a little bit to the corners just so that the screws have somewhere to go. So what's next? I need to study the pictures really close, but I think I need to come out here an inch or two. I got to go look at the pictures, compare them to the cricket dashboards, measure the cricket dashboards if they look close, and see how far it's supposed to come out, and then get some more scrap metal, some sheet metal, and come out within an inch or so of the end. I'm a little scared to do that because if you ever get in a wreck, you're going to have basically a knife edge underneath that foam, but hopefully not. This is all going to get holes drilled in it, like lots and lots of holes drilled in it everywhere so that the foam can go through it, and you know, it'll be attached to it as solid as it can. So we'll come out here with a piece of metal, come all the way around, and then it'll come out the bottom here. I think it comes out at the same angle that this is. And then the foam just goes back in straight, where this comes out flat, but then it goes in at an angle. So we'll see. So get that taken care of. Get this taken care of. This is pretty well done. I might need to build something to go across the top. I don't know if there's enough space. There really isn't. Because you got these here that are supposed to go underneath whatever that other panel is. So something in between here, it would have to be very narrow. And it would have to be on top of the radio, which it wouldn't clear the radio, and it wouldn't clear this switch. So, nothing. I could build something along the bottom here, but I don't think it'll make any difference. It's not an area that needs a lot of strength, I don't think. I could always come up. Maybe, I don't know. The power port is going to hit here, so I don't know if the other cars, the opening's higher. Same thing with that switch. I got to figure that out. This, after I get this sheet metal out where it needs to be, then I'll come back in at just a curve here. I would like to have the glove box, because the factory glove box is kind of lame, especially since the air conditioning takes up all this space. But we're going to build it to look like the Avenger, so just a curved piece of sheet metal. And then I think it'll be ready for the foam. I would like to take this thing over to my buddy Sandblaster and make it as rough as I can. And then that way, it'll just give it more adhesion. Just everything that I possibly can. I need to clamp that down and tack it. Everything I possibly can to make it fit. I'm not going to worry about this because I'm not going to use this part. I'm going to use that one. So realistically, I should bolt that to that, but I will once I think I have everything, and then I'll go ahead and use it to make sure, and then done. Because I will have to cut the bottom here a little bit, because it comes up too high, as you can see. So I'm done for the night. Tomorrow I'll get back on it. There won't be much to get done tomorrow. You know, it's just that piece really around the outside of it, and then this piece. And a whole lot of studying tonight and tomorrow. I might even print off some pictures so I just have them. But that's it. We'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, here we are. Now, remember, all this is going to be completely encased, sealed, whatever, in polyurethane foam. So I've got it. You know, you might say, well, why are you using this nasty, rusty piece of metal? This is actually a section of the rocker from the wagon. Well, because it's going to be completely encased in foam. And I'm going to hopefully see if I can take this over to my buddy's sandblasting cabinet. He uses coal slag, so it's pretty aggressive. But rough all this up and leave it, and I'm going to have to drill a million holes in it so the stuff can grab. But it's just, it's just a place to hold the foam, really. So I'm going to pull it off right now, off of the framework, and go lay it in that mold and see, you know, how well it lines up around the outside edge, because the inside doesn't matter as much. Hopefully I can use it, and then I'll just shave off. I'll probably duct tape over where the old gauges were and everything in it. But I'll be able to shave off any of that stuff I don't need, but hopefully there's enough space for all of this. Be right back. Okay, got it in the mold here. I got this little screw there holding this side up. That side is actually bottomed out against this edge here. So there doesn't need to be much foam there at all, just enough to make a nice surface, and then cover it with vinyl somehow, I don't know, or fiberglass actually, is my plan. So I think what I'll probably do, what I could do, is put a screw, drywall screw, whatever, wood screw, something in there, and just put it in enough to kind of raise this up here, and then I'll have to do something probably here, because there's not going to be any foam in these spots. But I need to bring it up like that, and then that way I can get foam down in between the two. But yeah, it worked out. It actually worked out just like I wanted it to so far. I'll have to wax all this, and like this is where the tachometer went. We had to cut it apart to get the dash out of it, so I'll have to duct tape that. I'll probably put some duct tape over these holes just so that the foam doesn't get in there and it doesn't make it hard to pull off. We really don't want any foam getting on the flat parts here where the gauges are going to go. That'll be covered with fiberglass resin, probably not even any cloth, maybe some cloth, I don't know. A very thin layer, if anything, but probably just gel coat, which I got to figure out how to make. So I went ahead and I used the belt sander on this, took the lip off of it because it was really making it real hard to get the gauge cluster in. All this time I've just been using the face there, and then I just cleaned up this edge a little bit and this edge down here a little bit, and that seemed to fix it. So the cluster sits in there snug. It comes in and out fairly easily, but it's not wiggling around real loose in there. I'll probably go over this whole thing with a, if I can't put it in the blaster, I'll go over the whole thing with a like a 36 grit green Rolock. Just grind it all down, make it all rough. So, oh, there's a skunk out here somewhere. I hope it doesn't come over here. So tomorrow, I have to work tomorrow evening, but tomorrow I will probably come out here maybe and drill the holes. I'll probably start about here out. And this will just be fiberglass. I don't think, or maybe I'll just drill little holes all the way around it. Maybe I will attach it to that shell because that's what it's going to go in anyway. Screw it down, drill the small holes through it, or just a couple, like here. That way I can put a couple screws on top. I don't have to rely all on this. Because I think going down the road, it might make it squeak. Oh, well, that's not all that important at the moment. Okay, so I would love to have somebody sew me up a cover to go over the top of the foam, but I think the fiberglass will work out. I wish I still had these guys around to help me out with it, but oh well, there's other ways of doing it. So, yeah. I don't know if I'll get on actually doing the foam tomorrow, although I think I'm pretty much ready. I don't think there's anything else I need to do other than drill those holes and put those screws in. But yeah, and I could put a screw in here and in here and then put them up. Well, see there isn't really space for it. But maybe that'll be enough. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Tomorrow, I might be able to get this thing in foam. And then, once you get it out of this thing, hopefully without pulling the foam off, I'll have to use like steak knives or something and shave it, trim it, and then go over it with 36 grit sandpaper until I get the shape right. Putting that foam back over the top of it, it will be a little tough, but I think it'll be okay. But anyway, this is where I'm leaving off for the night. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, quick video here. Here's where we're at on the dashboard. I went down, I sandblasted it, and then I took a 3-inch disc. The 60 grit was all we had, but basically ground it all over, surfaced it some, giving it more for the foam to grip to. It had a pretty serious bend or bow to it, so I had to make a relief cut here, this being the thinnest spot where it bent, probably warped from the heat. Made a relief cut, straightened it out, welded it back up. Had to fix that, and I realized the old radio hole was going to be a problem, so I had to fill that in real quick. But it's ready to go. I just washed it down with carb cleaner, and tonight it'll get cast. I'll put it in the mold and spray the foam in there. And we'll see what happens. I gotta kind of straighten out a little bit, but that's fine. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll set up like I want it to, and it'll look good, and we can start carving it down. Okay, I finally got it out of the mold, but even after 3 days here in the corners, as you can see, it never cured. This is still liquid, and it did not come out well at all. Yeah, you see these big voids here where the stuff never expanded, and even where it did, there's big air bubbles everywhere. So I think a lot of that might have been caused by using the triple expanding. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a can of the minimal expanding foam and go over the outside of all this. So like this, I'm going to cut this off because it needs to go straight across. And this needs to be flat. But I got the basic outline in. It just needs to be trimmed out, and like here, it needs some added to this, and this needs to be shaved down because this needs to be concave over here in the corner. See, that's a whole area that never even got any. Some of the gel coat coming off. But yeah, I mean, there's just big air bubbles, big voids. Like there. I'm going to go ahead and call this a fail, even though it's not a complete fail. Well, and this is the, I guess, final result with the foam. I'm still gonna have a bunch of voids in there. That triple expanding stuff, I should have just used this. It only expands up to 1 inch, where this stuff goes up to 3, but it makes huge air bubbles. I had to go through with this stuff and find the holes and pack them full. Like there's a big hole right here, you can see. And after 3 days, a lot of it hadn't cured. It looks like it finally cured here. But this stuff is like glue. I'll have to scrape it out of there. So the idea now, I don't know how much I can get away with a knife. I need to get a belt from my belt sander and just come out here and start grinding it to the basic shape of where it needs to be. Like from what I'm seeing in the pictures, this angle here, actually no, this angle here from the gauge cluster out to the end needs to be the same as from the gauge cluster out to this tip, and that's not going to happen. I mean, it's going to be a very close approximation of what a factory dash would look like, but there's only so much I can do. So basically, it's going to come out to a point here that'll be straight across, all the way straight across, and hopefully straighter than that dashboard would have been, or the dashboard that's in the green car. Same thing with the top here. It's going to be flat. And these angles may not be the same, but who cares? So we hit it with the belt sander, get it to a close approximation. If I can get the sander in there, we'll hit that. Same thing with that. These corners I'll have to get, if I can get a drum sander, I can do that. If not, I'll have to be really careful with a knife. Same thing in here. I'll probably hit it with the end of the belt sander and just kind of round it out, but it also rounds here. And then this is almost flat down here. So I should have got some more in there. But I'll give this thing another day or two to make sure it's completely cured. And I gotta go find a belt for the sander. But that's it for now. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow is my day off, so we'll see. So there's my stopping point for tonight. As you can see, it's got the basic shape, basic outline there. I need to get another can, probably of the 1 inch, and fill in all these big old voids here. I gotta blow it all out first. But we ended up with a metric shit ton of low spots, holes all over, everywhere. But once I get all these big holes filled and cut back down, then I can put the fiberglass resin over it to basically set it. And then from there, go over it with at least one layer of cloth, fiberglass cloth. Try to get the shape right, and then move on from there. This was tough, getting inside here to make this concave, like a bowl in here. But we'll see. Once I get the resin in, then I can put the filler in, fill in all the smaller holes, and then go with the cloth. But that's it for the night. Okay, we got the resin down on it. Took quite a bit, because this stuff I think soaked it right up. But see, it's nice and firm. Perfect base for filler, I think. So the plan now is to hit this with the DA, just to knock all these little nubs, these little things sticking up here, all that off and get it kind of smooth. So I'll probably do that and then put another coat of resin on it to seal it, because I'm sure I'll sand through the resin into the foam again in some spots. And then when that's done, I'll put a layer of fiberglass Bondo on over it, because like here where it's kind of inconsistent, it's a little thicker and then it thins down and then the angle kind of changes, I can build that back up. You know, where there's some spots like here where it's kind of low, here, you know, I can build all these spots back up with the filler. I'll do that, probably put a heavy coat on that, really, and then sand it all back down and have the shape right where I want it. And depending on how well it comes out, I'll either stop there or I will put a layer of fiberglass cloth on. I may put the fiberglass cloth on first, but I don't know. I might, because there's, you know, I could put it on the top, I could put it on the bottom, I could put it on here, maybe here, just, you know, cut these areas out, glue them down basically, and see what happens. And here we are. A couple coats of fiberglass reinforced filler. I added some resin to it, or filler thinner, so it would kind of lay out, but it made it take forever to dry, so we're about done with that. I just hit it with the DA real quick so I can get another coat of filler on it and fill in some of these low spots. I just wanted to knock the nibs and all the highs off. I still need to get in here with a piece of sandpaper and do the same, knock those down in these corners here. So, see, I want to get this all covered. So once I get another layer of this on, we'll sand it down, and then I'll put a layer of regular filler on it. Sand it down, you know, about as smooth as you could possibly get it. Hopefully I won't end up with any spots of foam sticking through, but when that's done, I'm going to paint the whole thing with fiberglass resin, and that should be it, other than a hand sanding just to smooth the resin out. Then I'll be able to paint it. It'd be nice if I could have find somebody around here to cover it. Yeah, cover it in black vinyl or brown vinyl or whatever, leather, who cares, but something like that would be cool. That's it for tonight, and I'll have another video up soon of the progress.